Foster boot camp is really about structure in the home. So, one thing as you're fostering, which thank you for fostering. I always like to say that because we need fosters so badly and always everywhere in the town, especially. And it's really helpful for the dogs to get out of boarding and to live in a home and learn how to live in a home. And then it's really helpful, especially if that home is a good place and they're learning good behavior. So always recommend crate training. Always recommend having, if you have the luxury of having a room where the crates can be, like for your fosters, to have them in their own room so that like they're not that enmeshed with you. Because I think part of the thing as fosters is like sometimes we get a little too in there, and it's good to keep kind of a healthy distance so that they can transition better. Love them up and like give them lots of affection, but like it's good if they, learn good things. We don't know what kind of home they're going to end up in, so giving them good boundaries, teaching them how to crate nicely is like the best gift you can at least maintain the crate training if the rescue has it, because that pass that on with the dog is going to be the best thing you can do, even if it means working them through separation anxiety, which is one of the hardest things to do with dogs, in my opinion. But yeah, if you can set yourself up your little foster room, crates, and crate or crates, and then I like to feed the foster in their crate and give them treats in there, like give them whatever kind of special chew. That also prevents resource guarding from the other dogs if you have other dogs in your home. I mean, of course, we want to, if it's safe and the dog is social, let the dog socialize with the other dogs in good ways as well. But it's also fine for them to have autonomy. Um, so I'm just kind of looking through my bullet points here while we have some more time to talk about setting up fostering. Also, one of my big points is like too much freedom too soon. That creates a host of issues. Whether we're dog owners or dog fosters, sometimes we just kind of wing it. And in my experience, I do board and train dogs, so I have my system that I use when a new dog comes in. We meet out on a walk, like the other dogs out on a walk. That's the best way two dogs can meet, and they meet nose to tail. Like after we walk for a while, if everybody's cool, then while they're on leash, and I make sure the leash of the front dog is short but not tense. We don't want to trigger reactivity. We can trigger the dog by making a tense leash. We go nose to tail, 1, 2, 3, sniff, and we peel off. And then we go the other way, nose to tail, we peel off. And then those dogs have met. And then I always go for like calm around each other first. Nice, calm behavior. And then not too excited. Arousal with dogs is where it all pops. Like you can have dogs getting along perfectly fine, and then they get too hyper. Somebody steps on somebody's foot, and now they're fighting. So I always go really slow. I let the dogs be calm around each other first, and then I'll let one dog at a time kind of mingle. I have 4. So when I bring in a boarding dog or a board and train dog or a foster dog, what have you, they meet one at a time. And then I choose which dog for that dog is going to be the best dog. Usually it's Brando because he's like very smart and he meets that dog. Amazing to me. He meets the dog where they're at. Very cool. Probably will never have another dog as awesome as he is. But yeah, so not too much freedom at first. Go really slow with dog introductions, and just remember, like the slide says, these dogs are not in charge of anything. All the stuff should come from the humans, like all the valuable things that makes us relevant. A lot of times we give it all for free, and then the dog's like, "And what do you want?" Like they're like, "My dog doesn't like toys, and he won't listen to me." I'm like, "Well, have you had a teenager that has everything it wants and then you try to get it to do something and they're like, why should they? I have my iPad, my phone, my room, my, what do they call them? My headphones, my really fancy Beats headphones. And I get food, I get fed. I don't, what do I need to listen to you for? Why do I need to do that? So same thing with dogs, just little dog form. So, like I said, you got to have some kind of, when you're fostering, I think it helps to have a plan. And some people have been fostering for years, they develop their plan. You don't have a plan, having that kind of coherency where you're like, okay, day one, this, and it'll flux and change a little bit depending on the dogs, but it helps prevent a lot of chaos. Like I find when I bring new dogs in now, there's not as much like I used to get very anxious myself, and I'm sure the dogs can feel that too. So now I'm like, okay, just do this and this, and we can flex it a little bit. Some dogs are just super social and it's not a big deal, but I still give them time on their own. And dogs need to rest. They sleep for 18 to 20 hours a day, literally. An adult dog will sleep 18 to 20 hours a day. So they can sleep and they're great. And they'll learn to be calm and good away in their crate. And that's a good thing to pass on. So, and that's our job, right? Who's going to do it? The dogs are not going to do it. So when you're planning it, make sure you include your space management. You know, if there is a behavioral issue, if there is a problem, if there is something you have to manage, make sure you know how you're going to manage it. Make sure you think through your day as a person, a human on the planet with probably a job and things you have to do. The time management, how often is that dog going to have to get out? How is that going to work? And what's your day going to look like? And don't forget to schedule yourself in your day. And then people management, which is like everybody in your house needs to be on the same page. All the kids, the parents, guests, we need to know, we need to all be on the same page. And a lot of times myself included, I sometimes I'm not the greatest at communicating to others. I know it's up here, but I have to tell the other people in my life what's going on. So I have gotten very good about that, probably too good about that, overly good about that. But yeah, it's important to make sure that everybody on the team is on the same page. So before the dog even arrives, you want to establish your order of operations. That's the plan. Set up your physical space, and then make sure all the humans are on the same page. And then, as we're talking about leashes before, that is, to answer this question that I have up on screen, the most powerful training tool you can use is a leash. And here's something that people don't think about: keep a leash on the dog in the house. I like to use a nice lightweight kind of nylon ripstop, cut the handle off, cheap, on a flat collar, flip it on the collar. The dog can drag it around as they're getting to know. And that way you have a way to, without grabbing a collar or trying to wrestle with the dog or using your hands, I can just simply pick up the leash, or I can step on the leash. I call it being a foot ninja, where you just put your foot down and you can manage things. The dog's not coming, put it on the leash. Now the dog has to come. If you're teaching a dog stuff, definitely have it on its leash. A lot of people, I'm surprised at how many people, I'm not surprised because I used to do it too, try to train without any kind of leash on the dog. Like, they don't speak English. They don't know what you're trying to tell them. So the leash can be instrumental in showing them what it is that you want them to do. So simply keeping a leash on your dog is a game changer for a lot of people. And then when the new dog comes in, just try and keep those days calm. Like, I always give a new dog a day or two to level set. And again, depending on the dog, maybe the dog's fine, it just wants to come out. Maybe the dog is going to hide in its crate. Now, I won't let a scared dog hide for too long because they're never going to come out of their crate. So we'll use a little guiding, gentle pressure and get them to, I know. Sometimes that's the work with fosters, is getting them over what they were experiencing in the shelter. And those are very stressful conditions. Now, I'm going to go back up the chat here. This backstory in the pup, he was a foster for TAP, fearful and shut down. Oh, there you go. We end up adopting him as he gets along with other foster failure fearful pup after initially attacking her. Oh, interesting. So that's good they get along. I'm very glad to hear that. Thank you for getting him out of TAP. Because, yikes. They do really great work. They do the best they can in a very challenging situation, but that is a tough place to be. Yeah, fearful dogs, they're some of the hardest ones too, because you just have to take your time. But I think also with fearful dogs, we're allowing them to work through some pressure, like not mollycoddling them too much, guiding them with some firm pressure, like you have to, like going to playground equipment and getting them to go up on it and guiding them through it, and to the point where they might be pulling back a little bit, and you just hold still and go, okay, let's go. You can do it. And maybe using a little food more to get them up there. But once they break through and like start climbing on stuff, it's so cool. It's so cool to open up a dog and watch them find their courage. Yeah, so I think I kind of went through a bunch of this of the multi-dog households. Don't forget your resident dogs. They also need your attention. Um, and, in the space setup too, you can use baby gates, you can use X pens. I use a lot of X pens with puppies, younger dogs, to teach them to just chill in an area. And then little by little, I can remove the X pen. That's a big wire gate. It's not a crate. It doesn't have a top, but like it just kind of cordons off a little area. Dogs can experience each other that way without being face to face. It can also be a place for me to put a puppy or a dog that I can't supervise directly, and they can be safe without being away in a crate. So like I use layers of proximity to the human. So you're in your crate, or you're in an X pen, or maybe you're on a place bed, or maybe you're sitting here by my side. And then if you're really good, maybe you're invited up to the sofa. I have no problems with dogs on furniture, but they do have to earn their privileges. And they do have to get off politely. And if there's any kind of attitude about it, guess what? You just lost the couch privilege. Now you're on the floor. You can't hang out here nicely. Okay, well now you're back on your play, Scott. Okay. And this is impunitive. This is just like the dog starts to go, wait a minute, I'm moving farther from the target. And it really is effective. I'm not able to settle down my place. I'm back in the X pen, but I'm still barking and whining in the X pen. So now I'm back in my crate. And believe me, that dog would rather be out with pack, because they're pack animals. So they learn quickly how to adjust their behavior and adjust their energy. Talked about neutrality, and socialization is part of getting over the reactivity also. And I'm not talking about the dog park. I don't recommend dog parks to people because there's a lot of wild activity there that you have no control over, and you don't have control over who's entering and leaving. And if you don't understand dog behavior, you don't understand dog behavior, and it can be really bad for dogs. It can actually create problems for dogs when they either get attacked or fight or just stressed, and they're not having any fun because they're getting pounced on. So it's not going to the dog park. It's about bringing your dog out into the world, being able to lead your dog and guide it into different situations. And we go everywhere. We go to Home Depots, we go to pro shops, we go to Summerlin Mall, we go to farmers markets, we go to cafes, and like the dog is just learning, hey, I can do these things. I can do my sits and downs and all this stuff everywhere. And there's a critical period with puppies too that unfortunately vets tell people don't take your dog out of your house until it's fully vaccinated. Well, you're missing a critical window from the weeks from 11 to 16 weeks old, where it's called their fear period, where if they don't fully experience the world, like at that age, they can become fearful. So a lot of puppy store puppies get this. A lot of dogs that kind of came up in a shelter or boarding situation that didn't get to go out. You can put them in a little stroller, you can try them in a little backpack, but they should see things and people. They don't have to meet everybody, and they shouldn't meet dogs or be on the ground where dogs were, because they could get parvo that way if they're not fully vaccinated. But they can go out in like a little backpack, or you can carry them. They can walk on pavement, or they can walk in places where there haven't been a lot of other dogs. So they really should be out and experiencing the world as well. And then, as you probably had to work through, Annette, like preventing fights is a lot easier to do than having to break them up. It's stressful for everybody. So, with multi-dog homes, just go slow and let everybody kind of move. And then sometimes they happen anyway. The important thing too is if two dogs are fighting, get them apart, and then kind of let them safely be around each other and de-escalate. Like that's always if two dogs fight, I try and make sure everybody's safe, and then everybody has to kind of come back and be okay. As if they can be, if there's not aggression going on still, because otherwise they kind of leave with a bad taste in their mouth. So I kind of like to bring peace back, restore the peace again. And dogs really pretty much get over things pretty quickly. So, sometimes it can be a little dust up over a toy or whatever, there's resource guarding, or the dog was hurt or didn't really feel like getting sniffed there, or, so just, again, going slow and understanding the dogs is always the best way to go. And then when we're fostering, we have the opportunity with this extra dog to teach it stuff. So if you like to train and teach cute tricks or obedience and, sits and downs and heels and recall, stuff like staying at the doorway, threshold work, so that the dog isn't charging out the door. Just teaching it useful behavior and not building any bad habits. That's kind of like the best. Not building any bad habits is priority one. And they can learn bad habits from your own dogs too. So, and then if you could teach it useful stuff, muzzle training, that's another one. It's always good for every dog to learn how to wear a muzzle because you never know when it might be needed. I mean, you go as far as taking it to group classes, doing private sessions, teaching it boundaries and some structure, creating a schedule for the dog that you can then pass on to the new people and say, hey, this dog likes this and it likes this game. And he gets up at 7 and he goes for a walk and then he eats his dinner and his breakfast at 8 and then he poops at 8:30 and then he's back in the crate from like 9 to 12 and then he gets out and he goes potty again and then, etc. And just learning about what turns the dog on, what fulfills the dog is really helpful. Potty training, obviously, super huge, super huge. If you have any specific potty training questions, drop them in the chat. Crate training, I talked about. Again, it's a skill. For me, it's a skill. It's not a punishment. It's not a mean thing. It's not a cage. It is a safe, happy den where my dog can be calm and rest. Boundary training. I love a place command. Teaching a dog to go to a boundary, a raised bed, and stay there is a great way to help them learn how to down regulate their system. That doesn't mean they're always on a place, but anxious dogs, especially, to learn how to settle, boundary training can be really, really beneficial. So, in short, we want to love them and nurture them and, give them skills and kind of keep a healthy distance. And this picture I have up here is a joke, but also sometimes me with with my dogs. But I usually ask people, like, does this look like a leader or a litter mate to you? There's not a lot of boundaries going on here. So, yeah, you want to, is this by choice or have the dogs just all piled up? This could also be a recipe for a dog fight happening. These dogs are all getting along. So, healthy boundaries is always good, especially with foster dogs. And because we are a bridge from their past into their bright new future that you're helping be a vital link for. So that pretty much in a speed session was my presentation on foster dogs. So again, if you have any questions or anything else, please drop in the chat. You can reach. Yes, how do I get a reactive dog calm down and follow commands? Well, that's a very good question, Annette. You're talking about on leash, I'm assuming. Leash reactivity out in the world. There's a bunch of different types of reactivity, right? There's no, he's dog reactive. Okay. But when he's dog reactive, you're probably out on a walk. Yeah. Okay. So there, like I said, there's a bunch of different types of reactivity. Most of the time, it's excitement. And most of the time, we make it worse because what do? We pull back on the dog. So pulling back, restraining the dog is how we build frustration, to build engagement, to pull us forward. So one thing that you want to take a look at is, first of all, reactivity with a trainer who knows how to resolve it. You can usually get that handled you should be able to get it handled in about 5 sessions. It's about you learning how to handle the leash. I use a slip lead because it allows me to do directional pressure on the head of the dog. People that walk dogs on harnesses were made to pull, right? We put harnesses on sled dogs. We put harnesses on police dogs. We put harnesses on dogs to agitate them, to make them get like, whoa, I want to get over there. So if your dog's pulling into the harness, it's not a great thing to walk them on. Okay, so you might want to learn how to walk on a different type of collar that helps you to guide them by turning their head. Traditionally, dogs walk on the left. This is where something called loose leash walking can really, really help. Okay, so I always start with I like a slip lead because it sits up very high on the neck, even more than like a martingale, which is a flat collar that kind of tightens and releases. I like a slip because it sits up high on the neck and I can really direct the dog, and the leash does a lot of work for me too. Sometimes if it's a very large dog, like a mastiff, and the person's a smaller person, I have a client right now who her dog is like 120 pounds and she's literally 90 pounds soaking wet. So we use a prong collar because that gives her more leverage. They get a bad rap sometimes because they have prongs and people think they're very, very mean. And you can hurt a dog with anything, actually, if you really want to. It's all about our attitude, right? It's not about the tool, it's how we use it. So sometimes a prong is the most effective one when you're talking about pulling into a leash. But basically, you want to learn how to um, guide the dog away from the trigger. And then the loose leash walking is very helpful for that because the dog goes out to the end of the leash, you turn and go the other way, and they come with you. And in the turning, the leash does the work, and that the dog runs to the end of the leash, and you're turning, and they kind of get a correction and turn with you. Um, it's counterintuitive because what you want to do is you want to give the dog a little slack and then say, let's go, and have them go the other way. It's hard to tell you how to do this. It's much easier to show you how to do this. So I start with loose leash walking. And then once I have that down, because again, part of it's handler error too. Like we can trigger our dogs to be reactive, or we're not handling the activity in a way that's productive. We're actually feeding it. And then sometimes we get caught in a loop where we're just distracting the dog or giving it food and paying it and paying it. And that can actually feed the reactivity too, because it just starts getting to like, give me the food. And you can actually create aggression that way. But you can use differential reinforcement, that's called, to get the dog to look away from the trigger. So once you have your little system down on how you get the dog to come back to the trigger, or actually, I'll change that actually. You want to also get to learn your dog's triggers, like when the dog's going to get to be reactive. So often, like with the pointy ear dog, sometimes they're walking and they're relaxed, and then they see something that's exciting, and they go, poop, and that's the first sign that they're about to go be reactive. Some dogs will do this. Yeah. And they start to zone in on something. That's when you want to interrupt them, not when they're fully gone and barking and going nuts. You want to interrupt before that. So all these things you have to get your timing down with. So you're watching there, you learn your dog, you learn starting to go, and then you interrupt it. You can redirect them, you can move away. Movement's always your friend with reactivity. And I will tell you, I had a very reactive dog. My dog Brando was like the reason I became a trainer, because I had to do so much work with him. He would literally pull us off our feet, and he pulled my husband over. My husband's a big guy. He pulled him over. I was at a loss. I'm like, I've never seen this before. I had no idea. So part of it was me, again, I know this stuff because I made all the mistakes. I triggered him by pulling him, and I'd see a dog and I'd get tense. And then once you have a dog that's reactive, we have to work through this PTSD where we're triggering our dog. We have to go, okay, I'm going to relax. This is not a big deal. So, you have to be relaxed. You have to learn how to lead your dog in every environment, which means you practice everywhere once you get your loose leash walk down. And then you have to learn your dog and their triggers. And then you kind of work them through it. And I also use play. Like the enemy of reactivity, the enemy of 6 foot short leashes and harnesses are really great at creating more reactivity. So counterintuitive, but I tend to work dogs on looser leashes, longer leashes safely, right? I'm not letting my dog run up on people, but I'll take them out and play with them in the park. I'll get them around lots of things and change their emotional state. And I also want to be able to tell my dog no. So I'll condition a no marker with the dog, so they understand, like, we're not doing that anymore. That's off the table. That can be done with the slip lead as well. So does that kind of give you some ideas? It can be a challenge. Also, a question I had for you too was, does your dog go to doggy daycare at all? Because doggy daycare can contribute to that kind of excitement, because the dog thinks it's playtime. Like, oh, every dog I see, it's like the best thing since sliced bread, and I want to get to it. So there's that. So that's more of the, okay, he does not go to doggy daycare. That can be more of the frustration reactivity. And really, like I said, it's just about getting your system down for communicating with your dog, and then being able to work him around all these different triggers until he's just kind of like, like Brando today is my best helper dog. And he's, I've trained him to off leash reliability. with the remote collar, and literally I can have him on me on a session with me with reactive dogs. He's off leash. I'm talking to him. He comes around. He'll sit. He'll down, and he's really really helpful. So dogs can change. Like it's not a life sentence. You don't have to forever dive into the bushes and feed your dog cookies to get them to come off the other dogs. But you do have to do a fair amount of work and socialization and learn your leash skills and leash handling. The other part of leash handling is that the dog learns to follow you and trust you. Because sometimes dogs, when it's not so much frustration and it's more fear or even leaning into aggression or protecting you, they have to know that you got this. Like they should be by your side. They should be behind. They shouldn't be always out in front. So there's a lot of nuance to it. There's a lot of little different details, but it always starts for me with loose leash walking, and then we do some long line work out in places where the dog can experience some freedom, get some energy out, and then just learn to enjoy being out and see other things without going off. So I hope that helps. Working with a trainer on reactivity can be very, very helpful. It was for me. It was, I couldn't have done it without a trainer. I would be still struggling today. And I always really, it's one of the things I really love to help with. I always feel bad when I see people just diving off the, you know what I mean? Like it is a strategy short term, but I never want to see people having to dive off or like the trail and go hide behind a tree or their dog. It's just really hard. It's really hard. But there's help out there. There's people that can help for sure. So I hope that helps. But we didn't get booted. I'm glad. Oh, thank you, Crystal. Just keep. Oh, that's right. You have to. I have the class to do my pack walks again too. I do intend to do that when the weather cools off a bit, just as a monthly, like for all my clients and friends, and come out and do a pack walk. And I did have like a group class for reactive dogs that was very interesting. We had some reactivity happen in that class too. But that's kind of the point is that, also I will say, Annette too, a group class. There's right now, I think Tino, so during the summer months, a lot of us stop doing classes outside because it's just too dang hot. But Tino Sanchez, Peace, Love, and Pitbulls is up in the northern part, like up near Lone Mountain. He has, if you follow him, he's always posting when his class is there too. And he does like an obedience class, but they often work on reactivity and that kind of thing too. That's the only one I'm aware of right now. We're always putting stuff up on social media, so if I do another class, surely we'll find it there. There is hope. I want to tell you, there is hope. And there's some work, but there's definitely hope. But it's the work is all really rewarding too, because you're basically just getting to know your dog really well and learning a lot about how dogs think. How dogs think and what they react to, what your dog reacts to. What kind of dog is it? What did you say? I'm scrolling back up. 16-pound terrier. Oh yes, terriers. I have one of those. She's tenacious. Yeah, no, the small dogs, their reactivity can be the worst. I always tell people, imagine your small dog is 65 pounds because people will mollycoddle their dog. And how old? The only reason I ask that is like, how long has he been practicing it for? I guess the other question I would have is was there a certain event that happened where he became reactive? Because that can happen too. Okay. Yeah. Toothless but barks and pulls on leash to attack other dogs at the park. Yeah. And terriers are feisty. Also, I will say that they're very feisty dogs. And they are very barky dogs. They're depending on the mix, you know what I mean? Like a lot of them are alert barkers, and they're bred. A lot of terriers like were bred to chase rats into holes. I mean, they can be very working, drive. So part of it too is making sure that dog gets to go do things that fulfill its breed. And I know you said toothless, but I'm a big proponent of play. So like getting him out there on like a longer line where you're safe and like you're not gonna have to worry about other people with a ball or a toy or a flirt pole. Terriers love flirt poles. It's like a cat toy like for dogs. You have a fuzzy toy on a stick. My terrier goes nuts for it. And you just flip it around, get a long line that's like, maybe 15, 20 feet. They're cheap on Amazon. Make sure you could put that on his harness because it doesn't really matter. And just make sure he can't flip the harness or get loose and just have him go out to a field and take that flirt pole and like flip that flirt pole around. And just, you can go drive him nuts and he can chase the little fuzzy thing around. It's really fun and it'll wear him out. And a lot of that too is like helpful with reactivity. Sometimes like a walk around the block is kind of like a 5 on a 10 scale for a dog. They're like, they'll do it. If they don't know any better, I guess that's good for them. But like really, one of my big things is like getting people to take your dog to the park, let them be a dog, let them roll in the grass, let them smell all the smells. It's really important. And obviously this time of year, we have to do that early or late, sometimes late doesn't work, but I'm up at 4:45, getting my shoes on at 5 and getting my dogs out to the park so they can run around and then they're good. Then they're happy to be couch potatoes for the rest of the day, which is amazing for me always. I always feel a little bad. I'm sorry, guys. If you are having behavioral issues with any dogs, please, sooner than later, get a professional trainer, even if it's just for a consult. I do consults with people and they're not ready to do like, a bunch of sessions, but that consult teaches them a lot of things, addresses the situations in the home, and gives them some guidance. So, especially if there's some kind of behavioral issue, it can really be helpful. All right. Well, I thank you both for coming and staying, and anybody on the live. Thanks for dropping in, and we will be doing these again. So, the next one is going to be in July 12th. So if you found this helpful, please spread the word. If you're associated with a rescue or anybody who's wanting to foster or adopt dogs, that's the benefit of this class is getting people ready to do that when they're not really sure. It's all the things that I wish I had done when I had started getting dogs in my life. So I'm sharing that experience and knowledge.